I actually talked to a friend of mine this morning, a dear friend of mine, and we were talking about the injuries, and he said, the universe will give you what you need most to be the best version of yourself. And he said, maybe for you, it was taking away like your ability to do everything physical.
Yeah.
And that's made you dig deeper and be a better person. And it always knows the one that it knows how to kick you in the nuts the best. The universe will always hit you where it hurts the most to make you a better person. I'm like,
What's going on, everybody? We hope you enjoy this next episode of the Unfiltered podcast. Remember, we're sponsored by Crown Movement in promotion of mental and physical wellness. If you want to support that, check the links out down below where we have a wide selection of toques, shirts, hoodies. Look at us. Look at you. That could be you. Wear your crown.
Yes, sir.
Here we are.
Episode 24.
Unfiltered podcast.
Yes, sir.
Featuring Keith Weber.
We didn't teach you how to do this. We always dab up.
This is our...
He's got it. Oh.
Yeah, let's do that.
I like that.
That works.
Oh.
I like that.
Lead. We are in the home of Keith Weber. Thank you so much for having us here. It's amazing.
thanks for having him.
Of course.
Sick setup. When I get a home gym, this is what I aspire it to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it's been a long couple months. We've been working, grinding hard, and then we've been talking a little bit here and there, but we're all pretty busy people. We all got it together though. How have you been?
Great. Thanks, guys. Yeah, really good.
That's
awesome.
That's good.
It's a beautiful day outside. Last episode we were complaining about how cold it was. Now the sun is out. Welcome to Alberta.
Yeah, it's like 2 degrees now.
La vie est belle type thing. But yeah, no. Tell us a little bit about yourself,
All right. Well, I am a physiotherapist by trade. That's my day job, which I still love, thankfully. And my passion is helping people and certainly personally exercising and trying to, over the last 20 years, distilling everything I've learned into just cutting away all the fluff and just really focusing on what's really meaningful to people in terms of giving them the biggest bang for their buck when they're exercising, especially guys my age. That's my big crusade right now because I'm getting up there, but I'm denying it. And hearing my contemporaries say that, oh, I'm getting old, I'm getting too old to do that. That's my mission in life, is to show you that you can't say that in front of me.
Yeah.
And if
really
you do,
like
you've got to come work out with me and I'll show you the way to stay young. So
show you the ropes.
Yeah.
I love that. The kind of, it's never too late kind of mentality.
Definitely not. No. But it gets harder as you get older and you let it pass away and slip away. It becomes it would be like somebody that's never, gone to the stock market, try to invest in stocks.
Just all of a sudden.
Like you need to put in the work to learn the ropes, but I've already done that for people. That's my mission, is to just show an easy way to progress from being maybe a guy that is a weekend warrior and goes out golfing once in a while to a guy that's keeping himself young and optimizing his hormones without having to resort to, constantly trips to the family doctor
and full of pain meds and just all the artificial crap.
Meds, psychological meds. I mean, a lot of my friends, I'm like, you're taking that? Wow. Like, it's amazing. They're just normal guys, but they're on all sorts of different things just to act normal. So
yeah.
There you go.
Just to come back to the beginning of your statement, physiotherapy, how did you, from a younger age, was that always your passion, your goal, or what kind of drew you to wanting to study that?
It took me a long time to come around to that because I had an excellent summer job tree planting. And I did that actually for 8 summers. And for the first time in my life, I was able to make money, like a meaningful amount of money, and be financially secure.
Yeah.
So I kind of got a little bit addicted to that lifestyle. And I always loved learning, and I loved being in school. So yeah, I think I'd been in university for about 6 years. And then my girlfriend at the time she said, what are you going to do with your life? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I was just having such a good time. And she suggested physiotherapy.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know what? That sounds pretty good. So I looked into it and, boosted my grades a little bit so I could get into the program. And
Sweet.
Where'd you study?
U of A.
U of A, there you go. I'm thinking about it a little bit still, but taking kines at U of C next year. So I get the whole physiotherapy and all that stuff. I just love biology and I love staying active, being fit.
Yep.
I think it's just a good mixture of both.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit for somebody that's, most of the people in the program are ex-athletes that were injured and had a good experience with physiotherapy. So
yeah, there you go.
It's you're among your kindred spirits when you're
100%.
when you're doing
Well,
that
you
program.
can like relate to it, right? Because I know me as an athlete, I'm not even taking physio or any kind of like body studies, but still I'm in the clinic twice a week getting treated, and they tell me all about it. I'm pretty much in class twice a week learning about my body, and not learning about like just the body, but learning about my body and where I'm injured, where I need to strengthen, and that kind of stuff, which I really, really appreciate the craft from that standpoint. Like it's beautiful. And I also really enjoy like not just generalizing it, because that's the reason in high school, bio was the only class that I did not take to 30, because it was very generalized, very copy paste, memorize, spit out the answers.
That's fair.
But
That's fair. I've heard that before.
yeah, but I just love the way, especially I've been to your clinic even, and just the way like all of your physiotherapists and massage therapists, the way their
100%.
protocol, their procedure, you know, it just makes you feel very personal. And they do explain everything. They explain like, this is why this is happening, that's why this is happening, and you got to do this to make it not happen again. You know, that kind of thing. They break it down for you.
The clinic is so awesome. I actually want to share a little bit of tidbit on that because I was blown away. I've never been to physio before, believe it or not. Like I didn't really play much sports, and when I did, it was just kind of like whatever. But then I've been starting to work out hard again because there's been a couple of different things that have happened, you know, that have stopped me from doing that. But now I'm really putting my mind to it. Shoulder started hurting, and I was like to Ethan, I was like, yo, what should I do? Because I know there's like people who can look into that. So he was like, go to the Weber Clinic. For all you Red Deer folk out there, man, that clinic is sick.
Weber Physio, guys.
Sick. I pulled up there. They're just like he said, super personable, and then he just explained, and we talked about kinesiology and all that too, and it was awesome. And then I got fixed right up. I walked out and I felt like $1 million.
You went
not advertised, not sponsored.
you went and saw Trent, eh?
Trent, yeah, that guy is sick, real cool.
Trent is really, really good. Whenever I go, I always see Trent or
High
you,
praise for that
but
clinic.
you're always booked, or you're just not available.
He's
But
that Red Deer legend. Another one of Red Deer's very own, as I like saying.
yeah, honestly.
There you go.
Now a little bit deeper into your want to help people. What ways have you developed over the years to do that? Like, what have you created? Outlooks and ways to help people in the community.
Well, I guess I used to be part of the triathlon and running community, so that gave me an opportunity to just treat people randomly. Like at a run, someone would say they had this ache or pain, and I could just lay down on the grass. Let's treat it right now. And I guess more formally, I set up some information on YouTube and made my beloved kettlebell videos.
Yeah.
So people could, and that actually started from people just asking, honestly, back when it was still DVDs, people saying, oh, I wish I had your workout, I could do it at home. And I've always been a big home exercise fan, and I've always like I remember back when Taibo was big. You guys might have been before your time, but there's this guy named Billy Blanks, and he had this video. It was like 45 minutes long of like kickboxing, and it was super popular at the time. And then there was P90X, and I love that one. Buns of Steel. I do that with my girlfriend, and I used to love these videos because it was like you put it in and you know what to expect, but you still want to do better every time you do the video. So I made a video of myself. We grabbed the camera and went to Mexico, and we were going to Mexico anyway, to be honest. And I brought a kettlebell. The heaviest kettlebell I could take was a 20 kilo, which was pretty much what I used anyway for these workouts, for the higher rep kettlebell workouts. And
No doubt.
and I had already tested most of these workouts on my victims that came to my class twice a week. So,
There you go.
and most of the people, and I was trying to talk about this on Joe's podcast, but he made a joke out of everything, which is hilarious. But I was trying to tell him that most of the people that came into my class were women, and he made a joke that, oh yeah, they want to see Keith. And
I think I heard that one.
We both watched the podcast.
and
it was good.
We never swung back to it, but they're not there to see me. They're there to get their butts kicked. Like, women are especially conscientious when it comes to staying fit.
Oh, yeah.
So I would do some classes were just insane. Like, it was so hard, even for me, especially for me. And so I'd always make sure I put a little check mark beside the workouts that everyone would say, oh, thanks, Keith. I needed that. That was an awesome workout. So I kind of took the 7 best workouts from class and put them into this Extreme 1, which is
the
what
OG.
Yeah, totally. And there was nothing out there like that at the time. And part of the reason I made it was because I was selfish. I wanted to have something that I would do, and I could test like a benchmark workout where it's like, if I can do this, I'm still in good shape.
There you go.
Because there were some kettlebell workouts out there, but they weren't hard enough. They were just sort of more instructional than anything, and they weren't that challenging. So yeah, and then a few years later, it's like, what? Joe Rogan wants me on his podcast? He likes my video? I'm like, I remember the first email I got, like, yeah, you were on Joe's podcast. Joe loves your videos. I'm like, Joe who? Like, it could not, can't be Joe Rogan. He's
Joe?
famous. And they're like, Joe Rogan. I'm like, I must be dreaming.
And you've been in Red Deer your whole life?
Grew up in Sylvan.
Okay.
Went to school in Edmonton. Like university.
Yeah.
Went to high school for a couple of years in Saskatchewan. And
I see.
But yeah,
You've been around this area.
This is my home base.
Stomping
really.
grounds.
We totally can relate to that, because it's like even knowing people from here like yourself that are like so great, it's kind of like, these people are from Red Deer. We get to be on the podcast with them.
Yeah.
We get to do that.
Honestly,
like, we always have our little like excitement moments. We're like, yeah, let's go. And
yeah,
then
we
we're
have
okay,
like our little
zone
hype
in.
sections.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who Ian McNairn is.
Yeah, that's a familiar name.
Yeah,
Ultra marathoner.
He was on our last episode there. Sick guy, and it's just like knowing these people and getting to be able to talk to them. It's just been amazing. That's kind of what the podcast is all about, right? Like, you've probably heard the general spiel, but we're all about that self-improvement, motivation, like powering through it and getting your shit together, right?
Yep.
That's basically the focus.
Yeah. I mean, to be as basic as possible, we're about defeating those negative thoughts that creep into your
100%.
head. Like, when you know you need to do something, but you decide not to do it, like, we're there to, make you do it, because that's when it counts the most. That's when it matters the most. Doing things when you feel good is very easy. Doing things when you don't feel like doing it is when it matters the most, right?
Yeah, it's also important.
We're all about
'cause
that.
All the walks of life, right? Like, we're 19. We're 19 and we're out here doing this, and we want to show people that we can be vulnerable too. We can relate to people. Like, we're all kind of going through the same motions, just in different ways, and even reaching out to yourself, it's kind of just an extension of that, seeing how far you've come, seeing how that success is going, how it's going to keep going, all of that.
And really just trying to find people we can relate to.
Exactly.
Because we really look up to people like yourself, and we admire what you've been through, the things that you've accomplished. And if we can meet with as many people of your quality, and not only share it with ourselves, but share it with our entire community, like, it's just something beautiful can just come of that, right?
That's what we're about. That's what we're working on.
That's really what it is. Like, my largest question for you is, why kettlebells? Because I know you're most famously known as Kettlebell Keith, right?
The legend.
So
I'm not gonna lie, like, I go to the gym, right? Yeah, I started work. My brother did bodybuilding for a little bit, so that's how kind of I got into the workout space. I always went to the gym, saw the kettlebells in the corner. I was like, what the hell do you do with that? I had no idea. Like, I need to watch Extreme 1, 2, 3. I need to watch all of those. Like, tell us about that.
Okay, that's a great question, and I'm so happy to answer it. Thank you for asking it, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, right? Because I mean, if I like something, I like it a lot. Like, I will stick with it till the bitter end, and I do love the kettlebell training. Now, if I look back when I was a kid, I was one of those weird little kids, and I probably had ADHD like everybody else, right? But this was back before they medicated kids.
Yeah.
And my medication was exercise ever since I was a little kid. And I remember at hockey practice, I was secretly was excited about the bag skate, because if we played poorly the night before, we had like Sylvan Lake hockey was like, it reminds me of football in Texas. You know, hockey in Sylvan Lake was religion, right?
Yeah.
And it probably
I guess
still
the lake
is.
freezes over and all that too, eh?
It was a culture. It was like a blue collar culture of like, and where the teams I played on, I was fortunate enough to be with some really good athletes, and we won provincials. Like, we destroyed other people, and our coach, we had coaches hired from out of town, like, so it wasn't just like dad coaching. It was like we actually had coaches that were professional coaches, and I remember secretly looking forward to the bag skate, because I remember how good it made me feel to like just be, you know, heaving, almost throwing up in the end of the rink after a bag skate or during the bag skate. And I've always sort of been drawn to cardio. That way cardio makes you feel. But at the same time, I'm a child of the 80s when there's Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I wanted to, and I was always kind of like, and I'm still like, I'm not a big guy, but I wanted to at least have some muscles. And my dad bought me a gym when I was 12, actually. And I had like it was pretty small like this. And I started working out to the Joe Weider black and white workout posters with my concrete weights. And
there you go.
So I always really liked lifting weights as well. And so zoom ahead, I'm 30 years old. My kids are babies. I don't have time to go to the gym anymore.
Or certainly
I didn't want to make time. Let's put it that way. I wanted to be home. As soon as I was done work, I rushed home to be with my kids.
Be with the family.
So I figured out a way to, I've been so fortunate in life. I've discovered things that have really changed my life for the better. So, you know, working out at home, I was sort of struggling because I had that rack with that barbell. Same one.
Wow.
How long have you had that?
We'll take a picture of that and put it on our socials.
Yeah.
25 years for sure.
Wow, and it's still standing.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's great. I'll never part with it. It's just too many good memories.
Yeah, one of those things.
There's still coins in there that the kids probably dropped in when they were little. And but I was sort of getting, I wouldn't say I was getting bored. Bench press, just sort of doing the basics.
Fair enough.
And I discovered Pavel's first book, Power to the People, where I was like, I never thought about doing deadlifts. That's a great idea. And wow.
I love deadlifts. It was my favorite exercise.
Right, I'd never done deadlifts. I thought the only guys that did deadlifts were the big powerlifter guys at the gym with knee wraps and chalk flying all over the place. That wasn't me.
Image.
So I kind of developed a workout that I'm returning to for home gym. I'm just testing it on myself right now. But it's sort of a 2-day plan based on what I drew from Pavel's book. But at the back of the book were these ads for kettlebells. And I was like, wasn't really interested. What's that? And, but you know, year went by, and then Pavel started showing up in a magazine called Muscle Media 2000, which was just a great magazine. And it was by Bill Phillips, who started Body for Life, which was like a 12-week. It was one of the first 12-week programs, like transformation challenges, and it was very slickly marketed. And so, of course, I bought Bill Phillips' magazine, and it was an excellent magazine. And at the end of every magazine, the best part were Pavel's articles. And then there were Pavel's ads showing up for these kettlebells. So I ordered the VHS because you couldn't get kettlebells. They wouldn't ship them to Canada. And
they weren't like here?
Like in gyms and stuff?
Like
kettlebells weren't a thing?
No one even knew what it was.
Wow.
Like this was...
Really?
Yeah, this was like this would have been 1999, 2000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so I ordered the VHS. There's no such thing as DVD back then. And I finally got it in the mail 2 weeks later. You know, Amazon, now we get things overnight.
Yeah. Next day
Pop
shipping.
it in. Yeah, there's no such thing as that. And here's this Russian guy that's just ripped. And he's got this massive kettlebell, and he's doing these exercises, and you can hear joints cracking and popping, and he's just a beast. And I was like,
Animal.
oh my God, I need to learn how to do that. So, because I wanted to be like him.
Yeah.
He was so cool, right? He has kind of a good sense of humor. And actually, his book, Power to the People, I would recommend anyone read it just for the entertainment value. Just the way he writes is exactly how he talks. He's hilarious, and he has a really good sense of humor. So,
that's the list. I have books to read now.
Power to the people.
oh yeah, no, it's an excellent. I think I have it here somewhere. I look at it every day because I'm like, that book changed my life. And so yeah, I ordered kettlebells. We always go for summer vacation to Idaho. So I had the kettlebells shipped. And at that time, all you could get was a 16, a 24, and a 32 kilogram kettlebell. So I had them shipped to the campground.
Kilograms, not pounds. KGs.
Kilograms, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to wait like 6 months. And we finally get down to Idaho, and the people that ran the campground were an older couple. Hey, they were really cool. And I'm like, Donna, did I get a delivery? And she goes, she was like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh my God. And she goes, the UPS guy came by a few months ago, and he was in a bad mood, and he dropped some boxes off back there. So I rushed back, and sure enough, there's my beloved kettlebells. So I started out with the 24, the 16, didn't know what to do with the 32. I mean, that's 70 pounds. What am I going to do with this?
That's a lot.
And I had Pavel's VHS and the book. I ordered the book on how to do kettlebell training, and pretty much destroyed myself for a year trying to learn how to do this. And then I went down and took the instructor's course in St. Paul, Minnesota. That's where Pavel lived at the time.
Oh yeah.
Now he lives in Santa Monica. He's done well for himself.
Oh, for sure.
And it was, okay, it's amazing how a tiny little adjustment in your stance, in your hand grip, etc., can make it feel way lighter.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is teachable. This is safe. Taught like this is safe. Because I didn't want to tell anyone about it, because I was like, my back was always sore. Everything was always sore, but I felt great because I was getting my cardio and my weightlifting all at once. So anyway, came back to Red Deer, started doing some just with random people that seemed cool. I'd be like, do you want to check out this kettlebell thing? And anyway, zoom ahead a couple years, had some guys in Nisku that were making them because they'd found out about them. People are starting to find out about these things. So I had enough kettlebells I could actually start running classes. Yeah. And I had to figure out such a way to make the most out of one single kettlebell. I didn't have a whole, okay, now grab the 10-pound kettlebell. Okay, now it was just like, you've got one kettlebell, let's try to blow the doors off with one kettlebell. So
make do with that.
So my first 2 videos, I think, are unique, and I would say they're masterpieces in the sense that I had hundreds of hours of practicing making really hard workouts with one single kettlebell. So yeah, they're simple, but they're also sophisticated in the sense that I had to come up with some neat ways to ladders and different ways to concentrate the rep schemes so that you could max out your heart rate basically. At the same time, your muscles were about to hit failure. So there's a bit of a hypertrophy aspect, as well as obviously your VO2 max goes through the roof. So
yeah, that like combination of anaerobic and then also like stressing and tearing the muscle fibers. Yeah, that's what you fell in love with.
The full kit.
Yeah, just everything. I actually, like I was saying earlier, when I injured myself, end of indoor season. So what was that? Beginning of May. I was playing basketball, landed kind of funny, and I couldn't run for like 4 months. And I was on the suicide bike every day and kettlebells every day, and that's all I was doing. Mm-hmm. Just because I couldn't do anything too crazy with my knee, my leg. So my good friend Xavier Lawrence, he was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna do kettlebells, and we're just gonna max out your heart rate, go hard on the bike, hit the kettlebells, and yeah, I honestly fell in love with them. Like, I still do them to this day. It's a part of my warm up. You know, we do cleans, snatches, swings, and that's our warm up, and then we do our actual workout. But it's just like a part of the routine now, just because it's a very powerful tool and very powerful weapon, because you're not only, you know, working one system, you're working both. So yeah.
A lot of people limit themselves to, you know, what's on display or what people do normally, and they're uncomfortable to step out of the bounds and take a look at what else is offered. And like you said, kettlebells, that's the way to go. I'll need to try that. We need to have a workout sometime, Joe Rogan style.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah, he has a sick actual kettlebell video. You need to reactivate your Instagram to show. But it's really cool. I really enjoyed that video. So
wow.
My that's another reason that René was mostly in touch with you, because I delete my Instagram every time I'm getting close to a serious race. I just completely deactivate any social media that I use. Just to, you know, really zone in, focus on what's coming up.
Oh, wow.
And usually the big races are also around big exams, so same thing, you know. Just got to stray away from any distractions.
Okay.
But I will reactivate it soon, and I'm sure we can get in touch, and I can share some of that with you.
I can't wait to see this workout. It sounds awesome. I love trying other people's workouts.
Yeah. Oh, so do I. Definitely. Yeah.
100%. Kettlebells, has there been controversies around them?
I don't know. I guess I'm like you guys. Like, I try to focus on the positive.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know, like, on looking at on your Instagram and then looking around online about what I can find about kettlebells, you know, people are like, oh, kettlebell workouts are unsafe, or oh, they're gonna like snap your joints, or whatever people want to say, right? What do you think about that? Because obviously that didn't stop you, right? Do you think that kind of became like a motivation too, kind of like to prove that this is cool, this is safe?
No, not really.
No, never even had that in mind.
Not really. No, CrossFit gets enough heat. They can.
I think people are just uneducated, and they're not trained properly. So yeah, you're gonna get injured if you're not doing 100%. It right. You know what I mean? Like you said, your back hurt for the first year, and then you took a class that taught you how to hold it properly and do everything properly.
Yeah,
it's all about that form. That's one of the things I can't get enough of at the gym. I'm a real perfectionist kind of guy. That's another reason why I love the gym so much, is because form is so important.
Yeah,
that's why I love deadlifts, because you need to tense your core, hinge your hips, right? You can't be lifting with a sloth back and then break all your spine, you know. It's got to be specific-ish, and so same concept, I guess, with kettlebells, right? You got to really know what you're doing.
Dude, even like the squat, like depending on where you angle your feet, it works different muscles in your body.
I've been struggling with squats actually lately. I've just gotten the hang of them, but do you know Rob's gym?
Oh, I love Rob.
Yeah.
Really?
Sick guy.
He's another Red Deer legend.
He is.
He is another Red Deer legend. We'll have to have him on the podcast.
Yeah, we have this company with our friend Matthias.
Yeah.
It's called Crown. It's a mental health and wellness company.
Wow.
And our storefront is at Rob's gym.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
it's
we'll have to check it out too.
And it's a weightlifting company as well. So most of the clothing and all the advertisement is on people that are in the gym and working out.
There you go.
It's really, really
Very
sweet. Cool. Yeah, I should have worn my hoodie.
Yeah, me too. No. Next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was talking to him. I was like, yo, like, this squat thing is really throwing me for a loop. And then there's a lot of power lifters in that gym, so we're figuring things out. And I watched a few videos online too. There's like the squat clinic or something, some YouTube channel that really goes in depth, and it gets really complicated, man. Like, you got people with different like hips and all that, you know, their femur and all that is like in different spots, so you've got to account for that, whatever stance is more comfortable for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that, can't stress enough, like all the gym goers, you know, or anybody who does even running, like it doesn't even have to be just at the gym. Just keep in mind form.
I was always told,
really important.
Don't have your feet out when you're doing any kind of workouts. But I have like bow legs, so I simply cannot put them straight.
Same way. Like,
I can't.
I'm tall, and then my natural stance always defaults to, you know, that like out. And then it's always, no, put your feet in. Or in high school, put your feet in. And that even actually hurts sometimes. I was like, this does not feel right.
Dude, my knees feel like they're going to snap.
That's extremely unnatural.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something that does bother me when I don't see it as much, though, fortunately. But the best tip I got on squatting was from Pavel. The Russian system is so sophisticated in its simplicity, but he said get yourself down into a squat, like let's say you were hanging out in India or something like that, no chairs, and weasel your feet around so that they're in a position where you could, if you had to, you could hang out there for 5 minutes effortlessly.
Exactly.
And then he says record that, look down, that's your squat stance. And that's never failed me. And everyone's
smart.
got different hips. There's retroversion hips,
Exactly,
anteroversion
that's
hips.
the term I was looking for.
And you cannot, that's just insane. Some people can squat with their feet straight ahead. But even people that I see doing that, I can see their knees are unnaturally stressing outwards. And it looks weird. And it's just crazy.
There's no like one size fits all for working out, right? Especially as a runner, I was always told 4 foot.
Right.
Which, with a perfect body, 4 foot is where you should be landing based on where you want all the stress to be displayed throughout your body and throughout your chain. But lots of people, heel striking is how their body's supposed to land, right? You can't force somebody to run some other way. No. Otherwise, it causes compensations, different injuries that are led by, you're working differently than you should be, just naturally.
People look at the perfect anatomical model and base everything off of that, where nowadays, that's kind of where we're evolving in the sense where we're looking at all those things. We're going, no, that's not how it works. Or all this research that was done back in the day, well, it's just back in the day research now, Got to focus on what's new, what works best, all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think a lot of the old, I don't want to call it bro science, but the old
bro science.
Like I've learned some of the best lessons from power lifters.
Yeah.
Like old power lifters that are still competing in their 60s because they know how to do it right. Otherwise, they wouldn't be competing in their 60s, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
fair enough.
Their research, like things that Arnold Schwarzenegger were doing, science is now showing that, wow, like he knew about the inner work. He didn't know about the inner workings of the muscle and all that, but
he probably just did what felt right.
He did what felt right.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the human body. It's like an organism. It's a adaptive organism. So if you do what feels right, it's probably right.
Yeah.
And if sticking your feet straight forward in a parallel line feels right, go for it. But well, you might be one of the top 1% of the population.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I love how you brought up Arnold and all those other guys, because to this day you go on Instagram and scroll like for 5 minutes, and it's just if that's what your feed is catered to, you just see Arnold everywhere. Bodybuilding, like, oh, this is the ideal man. Like Arnold was it in his day, and we should strive to be more. And then you have people like, I don't know if you know Sebum, he's a new guy, Chris Bumstead.
Yep.
Yeah, and then just sick guy, really cool. But all of those things, if they do what feels right, then they're gonna keep going, obviously, because they're not gonna snap in half.
Yeah. There's healthy stress and then there's unhealthy stress, and I think putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, in that case, is an unhealthy stress, like for no reason. Like working out is already stressful enough on your body. You don't need to be,
Let's take a break
unnecessarily hurting yourself.
Let's take a break from talking about working out. I'm sweating already.
I wanna jump into Joe Rogan.
I was about to say the same thing. I want to know how was that? You already kind of went in depth there. You're like, oh, I was like so surprised Joe Rogan wanted to have me on the podcast, and right, it's Joe Rogan.
Like from email receiving to being in the gym with him to him pulling up in this nice car, like just all of it. I want to know
curious. The experience, because it's different. We're already Unfiltered. We're on the rise.
We're a small podcast compared to Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the very beginning was again, I was selling DVDs. All my stuff is digital now, but at the time, it was a matter of Dragon Door was the main distributor, and that was the company Pavel worked with when I started doing kettlebells, and they're based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. And John Duquesne is the director of that company, and great guy, amazing person. And I was working with one of his guys, and so depending on how sales were, every couple months it would be, hey, we need another 1,000 videos. Sometimes it would be a few, maybe it'd be 6 months. I'm like, okay, I guess the demand has fizzled out. And this has been a passion project for me, so I wasn't like, oh my God, like it wasn't like I was making a living from these videos. It was just sort of a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think it was the summer of 2014, and I'd already been selling the videos for about 8 years. I get this email, we need 2,000 more videos right away. So I had to get a hold of the people in Vancouver that produced the videos. They FedExed them down to St. Paul, and I'm like, what happened? Like, I didn't do any advertising really, and Dragon Door did a really good job of advertising. And again, this was before Instagram.
Yeah.
So it was just basically people would come across it on the internet. So I'm like, geez, I wonder what's going on. This is kind of fun, hey? And then people were Twitter. Everyone communicated with Twitter, and I got people messaging me out of the blue and emailing me, and hey man, I heard about you on Joe's podcast, and I'm like, whose podcast? And I, the first few emails, I'm like, it's got to be a scam or something, whatever. Yeah. And then one guy sent me a clip, and it's Joe Rogan. I see this clip of myself on my phone, and Joe Rogan is talking about my video and how he doesn't even know who I am. He just loves my video and how it kicks his ass. And I'm like, I can't believe it. So then there's this big crusade of all these followers of Joe Rogan saying, we want Keith Weber on your podcast. So he private messages me and says, hey man, you want to be on my podcast? I'm like, of course I
straight up, just like that. Of course
I do. Yes. And then he goes, when are you coming to LA? And I was like, you know what? We were actually planning on doing a trip at Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. How's that work? He goes, perfect. So I did it with him. Like I didn't go through any handlers or anything. It was just me private messaging Joe Rogan. I'm like, I'm showing my kids, and they're like, they thought Dad was pretty cool.
Oh my God, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So we flew out to LA I think it was Thursday night. Podcast was Saturday morning. We got a place at Venice Beach. Joe sent a big black Escalade with tinted windows, and this old Russian guy gets out and comes, knocks on the door. We go out, drive into this business park in LA, and it looks just like Cronquist Business Park right near the clinic. Just these sort of flat one-story buildings, nondescript. Pull into this one random parking lot, and he goes, okay, yeah, Joe should be here any minute. And sure enough, this Beamer, like convertible Beamer, just you can hear the engine pulls up, parks, and it's like, I can't believe that's Joe Rogan.
You're just like shocked.
Gets out, grabs his gym bag. He's a bro, right? He's got his gym bag. He's got God knows what's in his gym bag, right? Grabs bro hug. All right, man, let's do this. And made some small talk, just act like a normal guy, and then get in there. He made me a coffee. We had a bunch of butter, had the bulletproof coffee and all this sort of stuff. And sit down in this chair that was just this piece of shit. Hey, Joe's sitting up in this like beautiful office chair, and I sit in this thing. It's like kind of crooked, and I'm looking up at Joe. Hey, and it's I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a long couple hours with this chair. I remember like, holy shit. And I had my book. I had a few things I wanted to say. Never really got to them because I didn't know really the format of a podcast. I just thought I would talk about myself, or wasn't like that. It was actually good though, the way it worked out, because he was
a sick episode.
He was challenging me, right? And I couldn't just say things and have him, like, I had to back up what I had to say, which was excellent. And I think it was I think he was like winking at me a lot during the episode. He's trying to like pull my strings a little bit, and I was glad he did, because it would have been boring if it was just like he was some sort of a fan, Joe Rogan, a fanboy of Keith Weber. I don't think so. So he's an amazing human, and you can see as soon as that switch goes on for that podcast, it's like boom, the Joe Rogan that you see on the fights and that you see on the podcast, the
Joe Rogan Experience, right there.
Like he's a unusual human being, a very unique human being. So what an opportunity. And for me it was like so many mixed emotions, because like I'm grateful to him for having me on, because honestly it was no financial gain necessarily for him. He just liked my videos, and so you're grateful and you're thankful, and then you you can't believe it. Like you're incredulous and all these different emotions going on. And then there's fear, massive fear, because you've got probably thousands of people listening to this podcast. So if you have a bad day, a lot of people think you're an idiot.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's on display, and it's on the internet, right? Like,
Yep.
the internet is timeless.
Millions
Like,
of people.
You know,
We can still find that episode.
people
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about digital footprint, right?
Yeah.
That's there forever, kind of
Yeah.
thing. No, I definitely get what you're saying.
So you're nervous and scared and excited and thankful and all these different things. So, but at the time, I don't know what I could have done different. You know, like I don't know, because it's his podcast, so I'm not going to talk over top of Joe Rogan. And
Fair enough.
So I just tried to be myself, and I would have liked to talk a little bit more about kettlebells, but as it was, it was interesting because he was having a really busy day, and I could tell he was a little bit stressed because as soon as the podcast was done, he was doing another one, and then he was flying to Houston with his wife, and I think there was lots of stuff going on in his life. So I think he was a little bit sort of like
on edge.
Stressed, a little bit stressed. Yeah, I think so. So, but I mean, it's okay. Like
It happens.
Like as soon as that podcast was on, he was like, boom.
Honestly, I think that's what I love so much about podcasting too, right? Like, it's just authentic, you know, like regardless of what happens, it's a conversation at the end of the day. I think the way it played out, like obviously, there's always listening back to the episode and it's like, I wish I would have said that, or I wish I would have brought that up. I edit the videos, and I have that same emotion all the time. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Or whenever Ethan and I rewatch it, we're like, damn. But at the end of the day, it's as perfect as it's gonna be. Right?
Yeah.
And it's also like in that moment, right? It always comes back to not scripting it, right?
Exactly.
It's what's on your mind in that moment, and just being as present as possible.
Yeah, like a lot of people have there's a different variety of podcasts, like people have their scripts, and then there's people like us who have like a general outline, or we know what we're going to talk about kind of, but we just go into it because that's the way to do it, honestly, in my opinion. That's why we're unfiltered, right? Unfiltered in the sense that we don't edit anything out. We're just, ourselves, and we also break down the barriers. We get vulnerable, right? Like I said at the beginning, we're not scared to show this different sides or what we think, and that's what's got to be in a podcast. I feel it makes it authentic.
There's no judgment, right?
Yeah,
just say what needs to be said, say what's on your mind, and like in its truest form, be unfiltered, right? And whenever I say that, I always come back to all the filters that people put on their pictures, or how most people's Instagram pages are just all the good things in life, right? You don't see the rainy days. You see a trip to Mexico from 5 months ago that they're posting the picture now. So like we try to just be as real as possible. That's all it is. Yeah. Just being authentic all the time.
In the last episode, we talked about with Ian McNairn. We talked about how when you do things, your path naturally lines up. Right? Like, I don't think you had it in the goal for anything to be like profitable. Like you said, you just wanted to do the videos because you like kettlebells, right?
Yeah.
Kettlebell Keith, right? And has it turned you into like an entrepreneur in a sense? We've been talking about that a lot in the last few episodes, and there's the challenges that comes with innovating and then having to make those videos and making it interesting and making it where people want to follow. But at the same time, there's your natural passion, which, I say your passion precedes you. It pushes you forward, makes you keep going. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, I think I sort of started out as an entrepreneur. My parents were entrepreneurs.
Oh, there you go.
My wife and I started the clinic. So this was more, it started out as, like I said, a passion project. It was something that I made because I wanted something like that. Like, I wanted a hard kettlebell video that would kick my ass. And there was nothing out there like that. And I would say now it's evolved to the point where I have sort of two Instagram accounts. I've got my Keith Weber account where I have pictures of like, I'm going biking and I'm water skiing. And then I have my Instagram. It's like my Facebook version of Instagram.
Right.
And then I've got my Kettlebell Keith account. And what I'm doing there is I just want to put something there that somebody will say, oh yeah, I should try that. Oh, like something useful instead of just like shirtless selfies and things. Look how great I am. It's like, I want to put content out that people can say, oh wow, yeah, like I want to do that. Like that's
and I love that it's not the whole look at me, I'm ripped, this could be you. It's like, hey, this is how you get there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
like
Like
you're laying out the steps that need to be taken to actually
foundation.
become an image of themselves that reflects you, right?
Yeah, because like I think if I can, my whole take on this, everything with my fitness is if I can do it, you can. Because like I said, I grew up with some amazing athletes. I was not one of them. So like I'm not a genetically gifted person. Everything I've got is through hard work. I don't have anything against performance enhancing supplements, but it's just not part of what I want to do right now. And I've never partaken in that. So I want to show people, hey, I'm old, I'm normal, I don't have any special genetics, and I don't take anything to help me out, but I do have like a consistency for sure. And I do have a drive like my fitness for me is my medicine. That makes the rest of my life better. But it can't just be any old medicine. I can't just take something lame that I consider lame and get the rush I need. It'd be like if I'm trying to get drunk, give me tequila. I'm not going to drink, Miller Lite. Right? That's a bad example, but like
well, no,
but when I exercise, I might only
he's a bartender.
Right. I might only have an hour a day that I choose to set aside. My life's pretty good. I could probably spend half the day exercising, and I did when I trained for Ironmans, and I loved it. But now I'm in a different phase of life, and I want my hour of power to be no holes. I don't want any gaps. I don't want, you're pretty strong, but you can't even move. You can't even like get on the ground. That drives me crazy when I see some of my friends who are very strong. But if you said, well, lay down on the floor, it would be quite the chore. Or get up from the floor without using your hands. They wouldn't be able to do that.
How old are you now?
53.
53.
Definitely don't look it.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So, and I want to show my contemporaries, guys, you can stay young. You can feel young.
It's possible. Like again, going back to Arnold Schwarzenegger, you look at him and he looks great. It's like, wow, this dude, what is he, like almost 70, or isn't he like 70 something now?
Oh, he's well into his 70s.
Sure. Yeah, it's like crazy. Dude's healthy. He still looks big. I saw a clip of him watching a weightlifting competition, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like that's what motivates me too, to keep going to the gym, right? Because if you start young, you're all the better, right?
Oh, you got to start at your guys' age because it just goes downhill.
All that scar tissue,
you don't make that a priority. It's more like a lifestyle problem for people, right?
So that's the way I always say it too. It's a lifestyle that you're adopting. It's not like I need to go to the gym. It's like I want to go to the gym. I get to go to the gym, and this is why I'm going to the gym. And I also think like there's different ways that people look at going to the gym. Like I'm going to the gym to get ripped, or I'm going to the gym because I want to look good for this summer. But like that's not really a lifestyle, right? Whereas people that want to be able to get off the floor without their hands, or want to be able to do like X amount of push-ups, or want to hit a time for running, like it needs to be a lifestyle. What you eat, what you drink, how many hours you sleep, it all comes down to that for performance-wise. And that's one of the things I know Carrie, that used to be the former coach at our RDC.
Oh yeah.
And she always said that. She was always like, if you want to be one of the best, you don't just run and train. You need to be doing everything towards running. Your life is running.
Every little piece counts.
Yeah. And like I've always really tried to do that, right? Training, I train in my sleep, right? If you don't get 8-9 hours of sleep, you're not going to be running properly, recovering properly. And I think it applies to every workout sense, right? Because you need to be recovering properly in order to perform properly. And I think it all comes back to the lifestyle, definitely.
Well, and I think with the gym too, like I don't go to the public gym very often anymore because I've got a great facility here. But I go over the Gary Harris Center sometimes because it's a beautiful gym. And
so nice.
It is.
I like seeing other people. Like there's a lot of people I know in Red Deer, so it's nice to see people. And I would say most people's biggest problem is they don't work very hard in the gym.
Yeah.
They kind of go to the gym, and it's like, I'm just here to be here.
Yeah.
Or just to tell people that they went to the gym today.
Yeah.
You know, take some pictures, you know.
But sorry, continue.
Yeah, well, I just think that that's why, you know, like we have that phenomenon where, you know, September, the first 2 weeks of September, the gym is packed and it's empty.
Yeah.
First 2 weeks of January, same thing. I don't think it's because people are all that unmotivated and lazy. I just don't think they have a system. I don't think they've ever had anyone show them the way. And unless you're into reading magazines or, you know, like I've got stacks of books about working out. Unless you're into it, it's hard to know what to do and to feel like you're benefiting.
Yeah.
That's the biggest hurdle.
You know what I mean? That's what you guys know. You guys are athletes. You guys know that feeling. So you know how important it is. But people that never had that feeling because they never pushed themselves, maybe they didn't play competitive sports when they were kids, and then you expect them to go to the gym and like bust out an actual effective workout that makes them want to keep coming back for more.
Yeah.
It's no wonder, hey? So
yeah, it definitely makes sense.
It's,
and without someone to show you the way, it's really hard, like you said, or without knowing what to do. Like I was always kind of kept my eye on like the workout thing, but when I was younger, I couldn't even do a push-up. And my mom was like, my mom's Cuban, so she's really blunt, straightforward. She's like, come on, dude, do a push-up. I'm like, I can't. And that's where I start growing up. And then my brother, again, is getting into this body training, you know, powerlifting, all of that. He's getting really jacked at this point. My brother was like 24 at the time. And I was just like, damn, like, how do you do that? He's like, it's just consistency, hard work, and dedication. And then summer of grade 9, he's like, you know, man, you should start going to the gym. I know you were interested in it, and here's what you do. He sent me a workout plan, kind of showed me the ropes, and then I kind of off to the races from there, right? And even to this day, like I said, I'm in love with the form, so it's something I want to keep refining and keep working on. I'm in love with the process, right? I know you don't see the results right now at the moment, but, you know, if I keep going consistently for a year's time, you know, come next year, I'll be even better than I was, you know? And that's it's always the instant gratification thing too. We talk about that a lot on the podcast, how everybody's like, I want these results now. Even back in the day, you'd see like the videos where it's like, here's your 90-day workout, extreme whatever it's called, and then you're gonna get ripped, you're gonna get shredded, and then they got like the Bowflex and whatever else. And it's like, that's not how it works, you know. If you train diabolically and like crack down on your diet, but most people don't do that. That takes a lot of willpower, right? It's not automatic like that. So especially without a roadmap, it's hard. It's hard to continue. It's hard to persevere. But
I think like the biggest thing for why people just fall off the rails is because they want those gains right now, right? They have no patience, or they get injured. They rush into, you know, heavy weights, right? You know, they want to show off, the ego lifters. See those guys all the time. It's like, you know, you're not here to impress anyone. You're here to better yourself.
You're here for yourself.
You know?
That's what I love about the gym, is that you're there for you.
Yeah.
You know, nobody cares if you're ripped tomorrow. Nobody cares if you're still the same way you looked yesterday tomorrow. It's all about what's in here. You gotta push yourself to do those things.
Yeah, and if you take the guy that, you know, started really slow, got the fundamentals, got that really solid foundation, versus the guy that's like, you know, already gunning it, you know, heavy. This guy's going to phase out a lot quicker than the guy that, you know, took the smaller steps, the important building blocks. He's going to get a lot further.
Yeah, for example, I reevaluate myself all the time. You know, sometimes, like I said, I was struggling with squats, and I was like, let me not put this much weight. Let me see my form, you know, and that's where I went to Rob's gym. Again, had him check and see what I was doing wrong. And then, you know, it's crazy how one slight adjustment, like we were talking about earlier, like my depth lowered so much because I couldn't even go parallel, and I was like, there's something wrong here, and now I'm just like cranking it out, right? But you just have to be capable of taking those steps and noticing. And if it's hard to find that motivation, if it's hard to know what it is to do, you know, you got to kind of go back to the drawing board. You know, what do you think about that? Like, how do you develop that kind of want?
Well, I think you'd need to come up with why you're doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
So if the main reason you're doing it is to look a certain way, most people aren't going to get there. Like, I'm like, with clothes on, I look like just we're all going to look like normal guys, right? So there's people that do it for the right reasons, that, you know, like, when you're out in public and you're wearing, like, you look at a lot of these movie stars, like a guy like Ryan Reynolds, the guy's just ripped, right? you see him with clothes on, he just looks like a normal guy. Like a lot of these, Brad Pitt, you know, in Fight Club, like with a t-shirt on, he looks like just a normal guy. But so
Michael
I think
B. Jordan. What's
Yeah,
yeah,
Michael
like
B.
these
Jordan.
guys, if you saw him in real life with a leather jacket on, you think, wow, he just has a good-looking guy, right? You're not thinking he's huge and ripped, because no one, at the end of the day, nobody but you really cares.
Yeah.
Well, maybe your bros do, but I mean, right? I mean,
Fair enough.
women don't really care about that kind of thing as much as we like to think they do. So you have to figure out why you're doing it. For you, you've got so many. Both of you guys are both athletes. You like the form. That's why you're gonna love kettlebells. Like I'm always trying to perfect the form, like getting the wrist twisted, and like locking out that elbow, and like keeping those joints healthy. Meanwhile, I've got a weight that's heavier than I could lift a year ago because I've been sticking with it. You know, like to me, that's the reward that I need. That keeps
It's
me
very
going.
gratifying.
And then I think a lot of it's, like you said, people don't know, like, especially when it comes to diet. What's with protein bars? Why are you eating a protein bar? Why are we eating all this fake food?
Honestly, I'm so guilty of that. Where we both are. Like,
I
it's
was
hard.
too. I cut out all
It's
that
hard.
fake food and just focused on, like, this has been like, I don't know, the last 10 years, just focusing on eating normal food, because I thought I had to have that stuff, right? Like, obviously it says it in the magazine. And I feel way better. I can tell.
There's such a huge difference. I used to be a pretty chubby kid, and I'd drink like 8 cans of pop a day, sit on my chair, game all day, and I slowly made those changes and started eating healthier, and it's crazy. And now I've even realized, I was telling Ethan about this the other day, I've been starting to work out in the morning because it just works out better for my schedule and all that. And I was like, man, I had McDonald's last night because I was out when I was with friends, and that was my dinner. I woke up this morning, went to the gym, and felt like garbage. Like, I was trying to do that deadlift, and while I was good, I wasn't struggling. I was just like, this is exhausting. I'm like, where's my energy at? And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, I hate McDonald's.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy how that goes into it. You know, it's a lot of people see athletes and think it's just training. It's nutrition too.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's your
the lifestyle, dude.
It's the
Like,
lifestyle.
The way I look at athletes is like we're like cars, you know. You need to be feeding and taking care of your car properly, right? You go for regular maintenance, proper gas that you're putting in your car. You know, these cars are built for premium gas, regular gas, diesel, right? And I think it's the same thing for athletes. You know, every athlete needs a different regimen, and people that aren't athletes don't need to be eating the same caliber of food and the same nutrition. But I feel like everyone should be on the same wavelength,
You know,
to be
people
honest.
with like iron deficiencies and all that.
Yeah, like everyone has different.
Ian McNairn, he's a diabetic. And you know, his nutrition and his schedule and his everything looks a lot different than ours, but it boils down to the same thing. You know, you got to stay on top of those things, or else you're not going to go anywhere, right?
And
how are you going to
eating
build your
healthy.
muscle? Exactly. How are you going to build your muscle without eating healthy, without eating protein, without having the energy to go to the gym in the morning? You eat McDonald's and then you feel like garbage. Or you could eat something healthy, a salad, some steak, or chicken, and wake up the next morning and you have that good, healthy calories, healthy energy. This is a kine student of me talking now, but right? That's what it boils down to.
What about like protein powder? Like, do you, or have you?
Oh God, I've taken everything. I've taken creatine. Protein.
What about creatine?
Yeah.
Because I know like most track athletes, like especially when we're like really in season,
Do you know
we use it for the power
Robert
side
Waddell?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was my teacher last year for a term. He's a sick guy. Love that guy. And he was telling me, we were talking about creatine, and that was one of the big discussions in the class at the time. I was like, hey, what about creatine? You know, and he's like, well, that's a whole topic in itself. It's one of the most researched, you know, supplements. And what do you think about creatine?
Yes, it's one of the most researched, the most effective supplement out there. Even good for your brain health.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Now, the problem with our society is we're promoted to take in too much of everything. We don't need that much. So I think most people, if they ate a little bit less, they'd actually lose some body fat and they'd be really happy with how they looked in the mirror. Like a lot of people have a hard, you're coming from like the long distance running, but like a lot of like normal gym goers, they're either trying to bulk up or they're trying to cut up. And I mean, I think you can have both. you have to be a little bit. I think most people could skip the odd meal and they'd be a lot better off.
Yeah.
As far as creatine goes, I don't take it all the time, but when I do take it, I've got it in little capsules, 1 gram capsules. Like, I know they tell you to take 5 grams 3 times a day and load it up in your tissues.
The loading phase.
Loading phase, which has been shown to not be necessary. But oh man, yeah, like it's a wonderful supplement, and I don't think it's addictive, and I don't think it's harmful. There's been some research showing that you could lose your hair, right? Because it does create some sort of androgenic effect. It hasn't happened to me, but like I said, I don't take it all the time, but I take it in like
hair.
I'm so fortunate I have hair. Oh my God. So yeah, it's I do believe creatine's an excellent supplement, but I try not to. I never want to be addicted to anything, because it's so easy to become
reliant,
addicted.
Or go overboard, right? Like honestly, like I said, protein bars and protein shakes, that's kind of one of my realities right now, just because it's really hard to sit down and meal prep and do all that stuff.
Oh, and if it fills you, like, it's a good way to get some nutrition. You know, like I don't need it now because I'm not in school.
But it's just busy, right? Like, just grab it, eat it. Yeah. You're just good to go.
But I also agree, I hate cheat codes.
Yeah,
I don't like cheat
suck.
codes. It makes me feel like I'm cutting corners, and I don't really like feeling like I'm cutting corners, you know?
I also hate people that say they don't have the time. I say it all the time.
Make it.
But like, it's difficult. It is easier to grab a protein bar than to make some.
I shouldn't use that as an example, but you know what I mean. Like, it's.
We're not putting stigma on it, or we're not saying it's like bad, but like in some parts, you know, you're really right. I've had this thought millions of times. You know, it's like, you know, maybe instead of eating this protein bar, I could actually like cook some chicken or something. You know.
Yeah.
Like, I think when I go cycling with people, like, running's different. You're not eating while you're running, but when you're cycling, it's amazing how much. I'm not going to mention any names, but some of the people I bike with, you know, we're an hour into the bike ride and they're pulling out a granola bar or something. I'm like, are you really hungry? Like, we just started. Like, we're trying for 4 hours here. Like, I'm pretty sure. And my wife is like a very, very, her passion is food and nutrition and insulin. Hey, constantly high insulin levels. Bad news. And I think another book that changed my life was Eat, Stop, Eat. And I did mention that on Joe's podcast because it had a huge impact on me at that point in my life, because prior to that, I thought you had to have 6 small meals a day with perfectly partitioned 20 grams of protein with each meal. And otherwise you wouldn't make any gains. And then I read this book and it was just, there's no arguing it. It was all research-based studies. I can't
wait to read these books.
You don't have to eat all the time. You can actually eat 1 meal a day, and you could be as ripped as the guy that eats 6 small meals a day. It's whatever works into your lifestyle. It's all based on, you know, your average macronutrients over the course of. So once I read that, I really feel like my health improved drastically, because I never really liked eating breakfast.
Yeah,
so
I'm not
this
a huge
whole
breakfast guy.
Intermittent fasting thing is just a fancy name for basically saying skipping breakfast, because most of the people I know that intermittent fast eat way too late at night. And that's another thing that's not very good either, right? Yes. So it's like, well, when's your last meal? 9 o'clock. I'm like, why don't you just quit eating at like 6, and maybe if you have to have something, have a small snack before bed. Yeah. But basically but you know what? It doesn't matter. They've studied the heck out of this, and meal timing really doesn't matter all that much.
No, like, I was reading this or listening to this video the other day, and this guy was like, your body doesn't know when you're eating. No. It's not like, oh, it's 6 p.m. Now all this food I'm going to eat is going to turn into fat. Right. Like, your body has no clue. If you eat at 6 a.m., 1 a.m., 10 p.m., like, your body doesn't know.
Your body's a machine. It just does what it does.
It just does what it does. I just think, like, eating too close to bedtime with digestion, right? You don't get the same quality of sleep because your body's working to digest that food. Yeah. So, you know, it's doing extra work.
But on the same token, if you're hungry and you go to bed, there's been a lot of research where your liver sparks up in the middle of the night to give you some blood glycogen, right? And you might wake up, you might not sleep as well. So there's always that. It's a fine balance, but it's not that complicated. Have a little bowl of cereal before you go to bed if you have to, right?
Yeah. Just last night I was passed out, and then I woke up at 3 a.m. I was like, oh, this sucks. And then I went back to bed, but you know,
you might have had low blood sugar.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. So. I like, my metabolism is like stupid fast. Like I'll
same.
eat
Yeah.
1,000 calories before going to bed, wake up like nauseous, like just hungry.
Yep.
Right. So like sometimes I'll try to like set an alarm middle of the night, eat something, go back to bed. Like some mornings I'll like throw up because I'm just so hungry. Like, it's so weird. Like I've even done blood pressure tests and stuff like that. Like picked myself. My blood sugar is fine.
Yep.
Just like what is going on? Like what's this from? I literally have no clue. It's just my body just needs so much maintenance as far as food goes. Like 4,500 calories.
Wow.
And like
So have you monitored your food? Have you written down everything and kind of kept a log?
I have, not very consistently. About a week straight. Carrie made us do that. Beginning of indoor season. But like I don't even know. Like I haven't really found like the perfect system to make that just go away. It's obviously something that I'm working on, testing on myself. Going through the motion. But my practices are pretty late at night or early in the morning.
Yeah.
So my last meal is usually 10 p.m.
Well, and that's not a problem because I used to work out at night when I was your guys' age. Like I remember I'd get to the gym 1 hour before it closed, so I had to like bust through the workout, like it would laser beam my focus, right? And then I'd help the guy pick up the weights and I'd go home, eat, and then I'd wake up starving. And that's probably what's happened to you, because I know what Carrie's practices were like. I ran with the team a couple of years. I thought my kettlebell workouts were hard.
Oh, dude.
800-meter repeats.
Yeah, tell me about it. Like people are like, "Oh, running's not hard." Like, it's like, dude, you've never ran. Like seriously
That's
ran.
the most uneducated thing. Running's not hard.
Or when people say running's not a sport, or
no.
track and field's not a sport, I'm like,
What is wrong with you?
I'm like, come on, man.
I honestly need to get into running. Like my cardio is so garbage.
My cardio was garbage before I ran into kettlebells.
Yeah.
Like some of the workouts that I couldn't do when I was 30, I can do now. Like the classic 10 sets of 10 for squats with a 30-second break in between sets. Basically, it's 10 reps on the minute for 10 minutes with just with a plate per side, 135 pounds. Usually once you get to the fifth set, you're like, most people are huffing and puffing pretty good. That used to kill me. I did it the other day, and I was like, it was hard. Don't get me wrong, but I was functional after.
You felt strong.
I was like, but I had to like control my breathing, and but the kettlebells have brought my fitness up to the level where I can actually. I think that's what I was trying to get to, is a lot of people don't have the fitness to work out hard enough to see the gains that they want, so they give up before they get there.
Yeah.
It takes years to build up a base where you're actually fit enough to work out hard enough to make your body adapt.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Well, we start training for races in November. We start training in like May.
Oh yeah.
Right. And like we're doing lots of base training, high mileage, nothing too crazy fast at that point. But yeah, like 5 months back to build a really solid base, and
you need that volume.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing with, say, somebody like you that's working out at the gym, and like a lot of people I see, their workouts just aren't long enough, and there's not enough volume. So they're leaving. It's like, where are you going? You need to work out.
You just got here.
You got to work out harder than that. And I know the magazines say you should be in and out in 45 minutes, but
I'm at the gym for 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Like usually,
anywhere from like an hour and a half, a good workout, 2 hours. We throw in the stretching in there too, before, after, properly plan out the sets and all that, and do a lot of repetitions and things like that, depending on what you're trying to go for, obviously. But like you said, you just can't pull up, leave. No.
I have seen a couple exceptions to that rule when I was your guys' age at Red Deer, back when it was Red Deer College, and they had this little gym in the basement. And it was it was like Rob's gym, but smaller and in the basement. It was so hardcore. It had squat racks. It was kind of grungy. I don't think the janitors ever went down there. It had the lighting that if you could be like 30% body fat, but if you lifted your shirt, you'd look ripped. Just like that perfect kind of gym lighting. It was awesome. And there were two guys that came in there, and looking back, they were probably dabbling in steroids. They were older. They were mature students. And they would bust out... They'd be in and out in less than an hour, and they were like supersetting everything. And they did not rest, and they're pouring with sweat. But these guys were jacked, and they were in good enough shape that they could actually do a workout like that. The rest of us were like, we'd probably make it 10 minutes, and then we'd throw up and go home.
Fair enough.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you
I've had
can't
those
get to the
moments.
level. And that's another thing that had an impression on me. I'm like, okay, they're ripped. They're working out very intensely. They're not resting for very long. And then, so when I came across kettlebells, it gave me a tool to sort of like try this method.
And
You know?
mold around that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there's lots of guys that, you know, will do one rep, walk around the gym for 10 minutes, go do another rep, versus the guy that, you know, 30 seconds, a minute, right? Back to back to back, actually doing the workout, giving your muscles enough time to rest, but not fully recover.
Right.
Get back to, you know, stressing.
And that, and again, like you said,
That's
that
the
depends
thing.
on your goal, right? Like if you've ever trained with a power lifter,
Oh, they're crazy.
you've got to,
I've observed them.
You've got to have a lot of patience, because you do not do your next set until you are absolutely fully recovered. So if that means you stare at the wall for 5 minutes, or you chit chat, like you talk and hang out a lot more than you lift.
Well, that's like sprinters versus distance, right?
Right.
That they'll do a 200 meter, like a 3 by 200 meter, 10 minutes in between, and we'll be doing like 20 by 200 meter with a minute in between, right?
Yeah.
It's just different intensity.
Yes.
And they need the full rest, because, you know, at their speeds, they can easily tear something, pull something. Whereas for us, you know, we need the volume, but we also need a certain level of intensity. And it's the exact same thing with lifting weights, right? You need the volume, but you also need the intensity. The rest varies.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was the most important thing with receiving workouts from Carrie, was how much rest do we need?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, running the workout is easy, but knowing when to start up again is
one
the
of
really
the
important
most
things.
important ones. Yeah, you really gotta be on top of it. Like I said, it's everything, not just small pieces in between.
Yeah, well, and the way, you're just spinning your wheels. If your diet is, if you're not eating quality food, you're going to end up eating too much, right? Like, you can fill up on a piece of steak and a potato and a salad. You're good for hours, whereas if you probably have a Big Mac or something, you're hungry again
like
in a
you're
couple
hungry.
hours.
Just
You've
all
eaten
the
twice
fillers.
as many calories as you know. Yeah, I mean, I don't demonize food anymore. That's one thing I've learned not to do, but I know how McDonald's will make me feel.
Oh,
Yeah,
for
well, there's
sure.
better food and not as good food, but saying you can't eat that, and
Exactly.
completely crossing it off the list,
Yeah.
is also a thing that leads to people to eating it more, right?
Yeah.
Like, all those diets that are like, you can't eat any of this stuff on this list, only the stuff on this list, those diets.
That just creates
you
eating
fail.
disorders.
Yeah,
I had one.
that too, yeah.
You know, like when I was your guys' age, we would do the 6 perfect days of eating. Then we'd have our cheat day, which is just like an extravaganza of Chinese buffets, and like just insane day of like eating to the point where you're sick for 2 days after. And we did it week after week, because that's what it's said to do in
gosh.
muscle and fitness. So,
No doubt.
you know, it's crazy. But you know, you look at these guys in the magazine. When I was very impressionable, and I thought, wow. Like, look at how ripped those guys are. I want to be like that.
you, my boy.
Yeah,
And
literally.
I think now it's more balanced. I think when you look on Instagram, you'll see people that are, you'll see the bodybuilders that are like just absolutely monstrous. And I don't mind it. I think it's pretty cool. Like, that's a lot of muscle. But then you'll have like the guy that looks very athletic and ripped and like the movie star body, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
it's,
I always get asked, like, dude, do you even go to the gym? It's like, yeah, but I'm the guy doing like the weird stuff over there. Like,
I'm the
like,
dude in the corner.
yeah, like I'm like doing all these like side muscle, tendon strength, like that kind of stuff. I'm not like doing bench press 225, 250. Like I'm not doing
well,
that.
that's not your that's not your
That's
thing.
not why I'm at the gym, right?
Yeah.
Like I always say, I'm a runner in the gym,
Yeah.
right?
People have different
Because-
needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people kind of look at me funny when I'm doing all these things, but it's like, if I don't do this, then I can't run properly.
No, you're accentuating your running. Yeah,
Exactly.
And like for me at my age, I want to pack on as much natural muscle mass as I can in the next decade of my life, so that I'm a healthy old guy.
Yeah,
100%.
And I think that should be, if you're not into like a high endurance sport,
and like a discipline.
I think putting on as much muscle as you can is a great idea. Mm-hmm. And I love the saying, form follows function. So if you can, there's certain strength standards, right? So I think if you can bench press your body weight 10 times, you can deadlift twice your body weight, you can squat 1.5 times your body weight for 10 times, you're going to look the part.
Yeah.
You're going to have a nice physique. You might, with clothes on, you might look like a normal guy, but your shirt off, that guy's strong,
Yeah, exactly. And I also love the take from earlier as well, where it's kind of people quit when they're about to hit that point, you know. In Robert Waddell's class, we talked about the plateau, right? Where you have this kind of period of going like this, and then all of a sudden it just stops. And it goes straight, and it goes straight. And that's where people are like, where are my results? Like, where are my abs? Where is the fat being burned? Where is my muscles? Where are my biceps, my triceps? It's right there. It's right. You're about to get on that incline, but you decided to quit at the plateau. Yeah, the plateau is an important one.
Yeah, you need the plateau.
Yeah.
You honestly do. That's what tests you.
That's trusting the process right there.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Like always seeing results. Like you can't always be seeing
that.
results.
It's not about
it needs to come down to how bad you want it and how long you're willing to stay at that plateau.
Well, and I think that's anyone that starts working out with me, and I've had many friends that have, come down, hung out with me for 6 months, and I insist on progress pictures at least once a month, especially when they start, because that after the first 4 weeks it's not as fun anymore. And
that's one of the things I really actually struggle with. I've never thought about doing a progress picture at all, and I know like it can help that much more. And I know it's important.
It's huge. Like these guys I'll be like, and back in the day when you took pictures with the instant camera. There's no such thing as digital cameras. I remember I had one buddy that I'm like, we got to take before pictures, and he was like, no, I do not want to do this. So you can see these before pictures, and then I said, okay, in a month we're going to take pictures again. So I remember the month came. We'd been working out really consistently. He goes, I don't look any different. I'm the same weight on the scale. It's all. And so we took the pictures, had the photos developed, and it was remarkable, the change.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't see it in the mirror. I could see it, but like I was even looked at the picture. I'm like, that is a huge difference.
Lost fat, gained muscle.
He lost fat, gained muscle. His face looked healthier. He looked happier. He looked like an improved version of himself.
Amazing.
And his wife, she called me. She goes, Brian's driving around with that picture in his truck. He's got it taped to the dash. He's like, he can't believe that's him.
He's in love with himself.
And then he just got obsessed with the process. And he was one of the best workout partners I ever had. He was calling me, what are you eating that for, Keith? I'm like, oh yeah, good call. He was in
good call, Connor.
And I've had like lots of guys like that but they would have fallen off the map if they didn't see, I didn't even feel like I made progress, and here's living proof. So
honestly, for me, one of the things that I've like kind of been convincing myself in not taking progress pictures is that I'm fighting myself here, right? Because I know I can see the difference. Right. I know, like, if I look hard enough in the mirror, I'm like, oh, like, obviously when you look at the picture, it's a lot easier. And it's like, wow.
Side by side.
Right, I've come a long way. But for me, because your mind also plays tricks on you, right? That's where people also develop some disorders and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not well versed in the science of that by all means, but in my head, that's how it would work, right? Because you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're trying to convince yourself you haven't made any progress at all, right? And then I'm sitting there, even this morning, looking at myself, and I'm like, yeah, I can see it. And then especially after a workout or after I do some abs and stuff like that, I look in the mirror and I'm like, well, at the start of September when I was really grinding it again, I didn't have abs. I couldn't see my abs, and it's been a long time since I see my abs, and now I see that 6 packs right now. I'm like, yeah. And then I keep going, and then I keep fighting, and I keep pushing to see more of the results for that. So that's kind of where it comes from for me. Like it's kind of like fighting my mind and knowing in here that I'm doing good.
Well, and always remember the saying, and I think it's Richard Pearson. I don't know. It's a famous quote, but it goes, I'm paraphrasing, but he says, that which is measured will improve. That which is measured and recorded will improve exponentially. So that's why having a training log, having progress pictures, these things, then that subconscious part of your mind is constantly striving to improve. Right. The numbers go up. It's and I'm spontaneous like you. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I've got like probably 100 training logs kicking around here and like piece of paper, like those little Post-it notes. Yeah. I'm terrible at keeping a formal training log, but I always make sure I write down. So even I'll find a random scribbler and I'll be, 2014. Oh, wow. I was lifting a lot back then. I need to get back on the wagon
like
or whatever.
You too. I just write anywhere. Whatever. Like just, I'm not good at keeping
I'll start getting on that. I'll try.
You know what? Just take some once a month. Just once a month. Same pair of underwear. You don't have to show anyone else. and just because you know
Snapchat my eyes only.
yeah, the mirror lies, right? I mean,
enough.
when I go shopping with my daughter, I'll be like, oh, I want this shirt so bad. She'll say, put it on, let me take a picture. She'll take a picture. I'm like, I don't want this shirt anymore. Like, right? Like you don't see, this illusion in the mirror, but when you get to see a picture of yourself with other people see, it's like, whoa, okay, I see what you're saying. It's crazy. So
It's crazy.
That's some valuable advice. The last thing I want to close off with today, we've been talking at it for a little while now. Obviously, we've heard your story of success. We know how you got there, and it's amazing to hear about it, truly.
Definitely.
I want to know about the flip side of that. I want to know the failures, maybe, the points where you've struggled, because obviously everybody has those points.
Yeah.
Everybody has those points where it's like weighs heavy on them. And another thing that I really loved when I first checked out your Instagram and all that was the gift of injury. Oh, yeah. The story about your knee. So I want to hear about all of it before we end it off.
Well, yeah, and I was actually thinking about that today, about this whole gift of injury, because it is such a cliche, and it's...
I say the cliche things are the truest, honestly.
They probably are, and sometimes those are the ones that hit the hardest. Like, and sometimes I just don't want that gift, you know, to have that gift back. I just, but I actually talked to a friend of mine this morning, a dear friend of mine, and we were best buddies growing up. He's been living in England for the last 25 years. But technology, we did my yoga routine this morning together. Oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, no, keep your legs straighter. Come on. But he's a very insightful guy, and he's had quite the life, much more interesting than mine, let's put it that way. And he said, we were talking about the injuries, and he said, you know, the universe, and it sounded so good the way he said it, but he said, you know, the universe will give you what you need most to be the best version of yourself. And he said, maybe for you, it was taking away like your ability to do everything physical. Yeah. And that's made you dig deeper and be a better person. And it always knows the one that it knows how to kick you in the nuts the best. The universe will always hit you where it hurts the most to make you a better person. I'm like, and again, that's like saying the gift of injury. It's like painting a nice picture on something that's really horrible. But I kind of like that concept of like, you know what? Yeah. It has made me a better person. It's made me way more appreciative. Talk about like exercise motivation. When you can't exercise because your legs cut in half, you know, and then you return to it. It's like you're thankful for everything. So thankful. And I still have struggled with motivation. And like I like what you said about working out in the morning. As far as I'm concerned, if you're really serious about training, unless you're on a team and you have a set time that you're committed to, if you don't have a commitment to anybody, for me, if I don't train in the morning, I don't want to tell my daughter, who she's going to move out soon. She's 22 years old, so she's not going to live with me forever. I wish she would, but she's not going to. And my wife, like, oh, guys, I'm going to go down and work out for 2 hours instead of hang out with you. Like, to me, the morning is so crucial, because that's when you're telling your body, hey, this is really important to me, important enough that instead of sitting here surfing the internet and drinking coffee, I'm actually going to go down and bust my ass. Yeah,
get into gear.
And then the rest of the day is just amazing. You're making good food choices, you're riding that high, and then at night then you can relax with your family.
Exactly.
But yeah, like the whole the ups and downs, like it's incredible how you need to have a foundation, something you can always turn to. And for me, it's always been exercise. Yeah. So no matter how bad life gets, as long as I have my health, I can cope. Yeah. You know, and it's always been, and I know like so many people have different strategies. Like my buddy that I was doing yoga with, he's on some crazy drugs for like ADHD. He's the same age as me. And I can tell, like I'm thinking, I want some of that. Like he is just like, his mind's going every direction because it's a stimulant, right? And I'm like, wow. But I'm like, no, I can get that from working out. I'll bust out a hard kettlebell workout. Exactly. I've got my own drugs, right? Exactly. So, and again, like we were talking about, it's really, it takes a lot of work to get to the point where you can get your body to deliver that drug you need to that dose. But it's worth the battle. Like, the runner's high you must get after you run. On
Saturday at Nationals,
you must have felt like $1 million after. Like
I felt so
like
good.
Peak of health and they did a study. Just a quick one to share with you. But they did a study. They took two groups of people. or they took a random group of people, split it in half. This group did, I think, 15 minutes of mindfulness meditation. This group did 15 minutes of zone 2 cardio. Basically went for like a really light run or whatever.
Easy run.
At the end of the 15 minutes, they gave each group a test, a skill testing, like mind tests and stuff like that. Guess which group scored the best?
Probably the runners.
Oh yeah, blew the mind. Now the mindfulness people were more relaxed.
Yeah.
Which is great, but I don't want to be relaxed all day. I want to be like bright and alive and ambitious and motivated.
Yeah.
Maybe before bed. So I've always done that. I always do my stretching and meditation before bed. Do the workout in the morning. And for you, like
time and a place.
And I will say, when you guys do the running practices, which is usually late afternoon, physiologically best time to train. If you can fit it into your schedule, that's when your body temperature is the highest. Yeah. It comes down, and then you can sleep better.
Yeah.
So
like 5:30 is usually when we do like running.
Perfect time to train.
Weightlifting, usually in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely like the later workouts. You can get the nutrition of breakfast and lunch in you, and then you can eat your dinner right after, and you're hungry and you're wanting to eat.
Yeah.
Right.
It's perfect. But for guys like you and me, morning workouts.
Yeah.
So powerful.
It's like you said, I love this perspective, because I have this debate quite frequently with people and stuff like that, where it's like, are the drugs really helping? And it's different for everyone, because some people might really need those things.
Oh,
and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not to completely discard that.
Nope.
But that there are some people who just do it because everyone else is doing it. And it's like, there's different ways to prime yourself. And, like you said, for you and me, and then Ethan has his runner's high, like for us, waking up in the morning, cranking out that workout, I used to go from, being like that in the morning, not wanting to do anything, to I'm alive. Feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. I'm like cranking out this deadlift, and then I feel like $1,000 million billion walking out of the gym. It's like, wow, I'm gonna do that again tomorrow.
But I'll bet walking to the gym in the dark, with the snow drifts around your ankles,
such a badass.
It's like, it's hard. It is so hard getting out of that nice warm bed, and then you're half asleep.
That's exactly it. It's fighting that.
I take like a lot of my motivation from that, actually. I like getting up when it's dark out and nobody else is awake.
It's a good feeling,
right? And you're getting into your car. It's 5:30 in the morning.
A rocky soundtrack,
and you're just like, it gives me that in itself gives me a rush.
Well, you just feel like you're doing so. You're telling your subconscious that you're putting yourself first.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, you are important, and you're not going to be like the crowd.
Yes, the black sheep.
You're going to be your own person. And every book I've read about where somebody's accomplished something, I don't know if you've read Mark Jurek's book about ultramarathoning, but he was one of the is it Mark Jurek? Anyway, I'll get the name for you. But he talked about how he would get up. He was in Minnesota, and he would get up and do these insane training runs at 5 a.m. through snow drifts down cut lines in northern Minnesota. And he ended up being the world's top ultramarathoner for years. I met him, actually. He came to Red Deer Marathon, but
sick.
But it was just like no one knew he was doing this, though. That was the thing. He did it before everyone was out of bed.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he says, I'm going to go to this race in Utah, the death race, and he won it. And everyone's like, how did that happen? Well, they didn't see what went on behind the scenes, and I think I love that. Isn't that cool?
That's one of the biggest things, is like, you won't know my success until the next time you see me. I'm really big on that. And I get so many people like, I never see you at the gym, man. Like, where are you? Like, are you sure you're working out? You always say this. I'm like, I work out in the morning. And they're like, oh. And how early? I'm like, yeah. And that's it. I leave it at that, because you don't need to know what I'm up to, right?
Yep.
It's for me.
Yeah.
I love that. And then in the last episode, we also talked about how when you take things away from yourself, you're still you at the end of the day. You kind of touched upon that with your knee injury, right? It's kind of like, I'm still Keith.
Yep.
What can I do? How do I make this the best version of myself? And then going back into what you love doing, you're all the stronger, all the better for it, and then you become thankful.
And even if you can't get back to it, right? Even if it's permanently taken away from you, still learning to overcome that and still see the beauty in who you are as a person, right? And not solely relying on one part of your life, right? I like to look at life as a universe, right? We got all the different planets, right? I have my running planet, my school planet, my friend's pet planet, the podcast planet, work, it's very diversified. But if one of those was to disappear one day, I wouldn't fall apart, right? And whereas a lot of people, they're like, if I ever lose this, I don't know what I'm gonna do, right? It's really important not to rely solely on one thing so heavily that if it was ever stripped away, you wouldn't be able to function.
You don't revolve around the planet revolves around you.
Yes, exactly.
That's what it is. Don't get egotistical about it, but that's what it is.
No.
Any final words for the audience or our family out there? Any pieces of advice?
Probably something I tell myself every day, because I'm just as lazy as everyone else, is the saying someone told me, and I've heard it in various forms, but the one that works for me is the action comes before the motivation.
Yeah.
That's what I live by.
Yeah.
I do not feel like working out until I grab the bar, get that first few reps in. All of a sudden, I'm glad I'm here.
Yes. Yes. That is huge. Yeah. It's just like you don't want to get out of bed, but as soon as you get out of bed, splash some water in your face, brush your teeth, you're like, this is a good move.
I'm glad I'm doing this, right?
I'm woke.
Exactly.
That's what's up.
Definitely.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Yeah,
this
thank you,
was
Keith. This was
amazing.
a great experience. Really happy to have
Another
you on the podcast.
dab up.
Oh.
Boom.
Boom.
Amazing. What a great episode, guys. We'll be here next time. If you liked it, subscribe, all that YouTube shit. You know what's up. We'll have him on the Instagram. We'll have him down below. You'll know where to find him. And that's Ari Unfiltered.
Ari Unfiltered.
Do you have anything to say? It looked like you had something to say.
Books will be also linked down below for all the books that were mentioned.
I can do that.
But that's everything. Love you all. Thank you all. Till next time.